Good morning. Welcome to today's meeting on the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs for the 2025 legislative session. Will the secretary please call the roll? I am here. Please record Assembly Member Hunt when they arrive and Assembly Member Kasama as absent excused, or
No,
if she arrives
Kasama's
as
here.
present.
I'm
Okay,
sorry,
great. I didn't hear you.
I didn't hear the
Fantastic.
audio. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. And Assemblymember Hunt has arrived, so we're all set to go. Welcome to the audience here in Carson City, those joining by video conference in Las Vegas, and those listening on the internet. I would like to begin with some housekeeping measures. Please check and silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a card to our committee secretary. When testifying, please turn the microphone on and clearly state your name and any affiliation for the record. Turn the microphone off each time you're done speaking. If providing handouts, please ensure that hard copies are available for members of the public. Electronic copies should have been submitted to our committee manager by 9 a.m. yesterday for our committee members. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we disagree with someone else's position. And I encourage members to ask questions and engage with the material presented. Committee members, if you have any follow-up questions, please flag them for me so we can ensure to balance our time effectively during today's meetings. And committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not interpret this as being a sign of disrespect or inattention. And with that, let's get started. Today, we will hear two bills. First, we will have Assembly Bill 333, which revises provisions relating to governmental administration, followed by Assembly Bill 114, which revises provisions relating to county fair and recreation boards. To ensure that we get through everyone fairly and in a timely manner, we will set a 20-minute time limit for each period of support, opposition, and neutral testimony, with each speaker having no more than 2 minutes. To ensure that we allow as many people as possible to testify, please feel free to say ditto if somebody says something that has already been covered in your testimony. And I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 333. To begin the presentation for this measure, we have Assembly Member Ken Gray, Senator Taylor, and Administrator JJ Gokachia. Thank you for being here. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you and good morning, Chair and members of the hardest working committee in the Assembly, the Government Affairs Committee. I'm hoping flattery goes a long way. For the record, I'm Assemblyman Ken Gray. I represent Assembly District 39, and I'm also joined by Senator Angie Taylor today, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your district. 15. I'm here to open the presentation on Assembly Bill 333, which revises the provisions related to government administration. This bill addresses property lease to Washoe County and the establishment of the Nevada State Fairgrounds. Unfortunately, I must attend another bill presentation in the Assembly Judiciary Committee, so I'll now turn the presentation over to Senator Taylor and Director Gokachia. He'll provide an overview of the bill and the submitted amendments. In closing, I respectfully ask that you thoughtfully consider this bill and its merits. Thank you, Chair and committee members.
Thank you, Assembly Member. Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Wynn, and members of the hardest working committee, and I know that because I was here last session. Thank you so much, though, for this opportunity to present this bill. My name is Angie Taylor, for the record, the proud senator representing Senate District 15 in Washoe County, and I am here to assist with this bill, which revises provisions relating to governmental administration. Just a little bit of background, and then we'll turn it over to Dr. Gokachia. It's an exciting opportunity for me to be one of the sponsors of this legislation that can have an amazing impact in our community in Washoe County. Assembly Bill 333 addresses an important issue and will properly align property currently leased to the county and then open the door for a very exciting community development project. I'm proud to be a part of it and can't wait for you to hear about it. With me this morning, as you can see here to my left, is Dr. J.J. Gokachia, Gokachia, Director of the Nevada Department of Agriculture. And then as I step back, Cadence, I never say your name right, Cadence. Matevich, that. Government Affairs Liaison for Washoe County. They will lead you through the remainder of the presentation and walk you through the bill, if you'd like. And then again, Chair Considine and Vice Chair Wynn and committee members, thank you for taking the time to allow us to present this morning.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. I guess you're the hardest working committee, so I better recognize you for that as well. Happy Pi Day. We'll try not to talk in circles. So I want to thank you. I couldn't help it. I want to thank Cadence for reaching out and her great assistance with this on behalf of Washoe County. This is definitely a team effort, what you see in front of you. And we're very thankful for everyone that has helped us with this and the sponsors. We do have conceptual amendments that were not uploaded to Nellis, we understand, so we'll kind of speak through those. I'll allow Cadence to speak through that as well. But they're really dealing with kind of the revenue and financial part of this to deal with those issues. And then one minor housekeeping thing on our part where it talks about promote purposes related to livestock. We struck that, and it's agriculture. It's all agriculture, not just livestock, that we are concerned about. So I can start through this real quick presentation if you'd like, and Cadence and I'll kind of tag team this. So a little bit of history about the fairgrounds. In 1867, it was actually created under the Board of Agriculture, and at that time there was a trust placed on that property that it would be for the promotion of agriculture and education of agriculture. And then in 1951, property was leased to Washoe County. And the southern portion of that, and we have a map coming up here so you guys can really see this visually. The southern portion of that property was exempted from the trust in 1977, and that's where the Washoe County administrative buildings are now. I can stop there for a minute, Cadence, if you'd like to add anything. Okay. Since that time, Washoe County had managed that, and they did, they had the county fair. They put that on there for a lot of years. This was the Washoe County Fairgrounds. But over time, their interest in and the use of that property has obviously changed. And our mission at the Department of Ag is preserve, protect, and promote. So we would like to take management back, oversight back over that piece of property to do just that. So what will change here with this bill? Not much, to be completely honest, other than the Department of Agriculture will take the oversight of the northern portion of that property. We will continue to work with Reno Sparks Convention and Visitors Authority. We have met with them multiple times as recently as Wednesday, and they have an agreement to manage that northern portion of that property that will stay in place, and we will just continue to go forward for the time being under that agreement. There is going to be an increased focus on the promotion of agriculture and agricultural education on that property. And then we will pursue the return of the Nevada State Fair. That is under 547, NRS 547. That is at the discretion of the director where any state or regional fair will be held. And we would like to see that come back to this property, if not every year, at least most years, because that is where it belongs. And for a long time, that's where we went to the state fair. Washoe County will conduct a survey to establish a legal description of the two portions that are described in this bill, the portion that they will keep and continue to lease from the county for from the state for no consideration where their admin buildings are. And then we will continue to operate on our joint agreement for parking. Everyone's aware what the parking looks like there. Washoe County needs that during the days when they're doing business, and we obviously need that when we have events, especially at nighttime when the Reno Rodeo is on. We need all the parking we can get. So here is an oversight, I should say an overview of what it will look like. The red line on there is currently how the lease is constructed. At the top of that, you will see that small square building right to the left of that red line. That is actually the Nevada Junior Livestock Show office and building. So that would make a lot of sense for that to be back on the other side of that property line. They do have a lot of oversight on this. And then you can see, we do catch a piece of the grandstands on the Reno Rodeo. So the proposed line is take it to the green line. Everything to the south, to the left of that, would remain under lease with Washoe County. Everything to the right or the north would be under the oversight of the Department of Agriculture, and we would continue to work with RSCDA on that. I'll just leave this up in case there's any questions, and with that, I will turn it over to Cadence.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Wynn, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Cadence Matievich, C-A-D-E-N-C-E-M-A-T-I-J-E-V-I-C-H, and I proudly represent Washoe County. Chair Considine, I'm prepared to do a section-by-section walkthrough of the bill if you'd like, or we can try to do a higher level overview, whatever your preference is. I'd be happy to do the walkthrough if you'd like.
I think we want the walkthrough, but I have a quick question. We had an amendment submitted by Assemblymember Gray yesterday. Is that the amendment you're speaking of, or is there another amendment? Okay, great. If you
Director
can,
Goycochea, for the record, that is the amendment.
thank you, Dr. Goycochea. If, Cadence, if you would go through with the amendment, that would be perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Cadence Matievich. I will try to do that. My notes are on the original version of the bill, so I may have to toggle back and forth a little bit. I'll ask for your patience as we do that. I'll begin. Sections 3 and 4 establish definitions for department and director for applicability to Chapter 551 of NRS, which is fairs and exhibits. Section 5 requires the director of the Nevada Department of Agriculture to establish a fairgrounds to be known as the Nevada State Fairgrounds, sets forth the department's responsibilities with respect to these fairgrounds, and grants certain authorities to the department to allow it to carry out such responsibilities. Section 6 establishes the account for the maintenance of operations of the Nevada State Fairgrounds in the State General Fund and specifies that the account is a continuing account without reversion, establishes allowable uses for the funds deposited into the account, authorizes the director to accept gifts, grants, donations, and bequests, and to deposit those funds into the account, and specifies that any interest earned on those funds must be credited to the account. Forgive me, I'm going to stop for just a second. I think I've maybe have missed some of these amendments, so I'm going to back up for just a second. As Dr. Goycochea mentioned previously, in Section 5, subsection 2B, the change of the word livestock to agriculture there to be clear that it's promotion of agriculture, not just livestock. And then in subsection 3 of Section 5 allows the director to enter into contracts and legal agreements with the entities stated there to include quasi-governmental agencies, nonprofits, and for-profit management companies. And I think when you hear from the supporters of this bill, you're going to hear about an exciting project, and that's the reason that that's included there. And then also clarifies that leases, rents, lease, and concessions for valuable consideration. You'll likely hear from our state land administrator, Mr. Donahue, a little bit later on about why these particular pieces around the fiscal component of the department's oversight of the property are important based on existing statutory responsibilities that he has with respect to any proceeds from properties. So with that, I'm going to try to continue through. Section 6 establishes the account for the maintenance and operations of the Nevada State Fairgrounds in the State General Fund. Sorry, I already did that one. Section 7 makes conforming changes to incorporate the newly defined terms that I mentioned are in sections 3 and 4 into NRS 551.030, which pertains to state and regional fairs. Section 8 revises the duty of the Nevada Junior Livestock Show Board to review all uses of the property leased to Washoe County for use as a fairground, and instead will require them to review all uses of the Nevada State Fairgrounds to ensure that any improvements or changes to the property continue to comply with the provisions of the trust relating to the fairground, and that's the trust that Dr. Goycochea mentioned when the property was originally deeded to the state in the late 1800s. Section 9 makes certain findings and declarations regarding this subject property. Section 10, let me just make sure I'm not missing any amendments in Section 9. Yep, Section 10 terminates the current lease with Washoe County for the subject property. And then Section 11 requires Washoe County to survey and generate a legal description for the portion of the subject property upon which Washoe County has constructed and maintained a county public building complex. That's what you see on the left of your screen there, and then the portion to the north as well, and requires the administrator of the Division of State Lands of the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources to enter into a new lease with Washoe County for the portion of the property not subject to the trust. And that is a portion we have added in there in subsection 2 of section 11 for no consideration. Washoe County currently is under lease for no consideration, and so that would continue under this provision. Section 12 sets forth the duties of the Director of the Department of Agriculture with regarding operation and maintenance of the property not subject to the new lease with Washoe County, requiring the Director to recognize the trust imposed by Chapter 28 Statutes of Nevada, 1887, and requires that the Department of Agriculture assume responsibility for any accounts payable by Washoe County for the subject property and existing contracts or other agreements entered into by Washoe County for use of the subject property or any buildings or facilities thereon. Additionally, this section requires Washoe County to pay to the Department of Agriculture any monies we have on hand that were derived from use of the subject property. Section 13 specifies that the provisions of NRS 354.599, which for those of you who may not know what that says, actually requires that if the legislature directs one or more local governments to establish a program or service or to increase a program or service already established, which requires additional funding and the cost of such program or service is $5,000 or more, that a specified source for the additional revenue to pay the expense must be authorized by statute. This section says that that provision of law does not apply to this bill. Section 14 repeals various sections of statutes of Nevada that would no longer be relevant following the termination of the lease, the current lease between the state and Washoe County as directed in Section 10. And finally, Section 15 establishes the effective dates for the bill. Madam Chair, that's the end of the walkthrough on the bill presentation. I'm glad to answer any questions, and Senator Taylor may have something she'd like to add at your pleasure.
I was just going to say thank you, Angie Taylor, for the record. Again, thank you for the opportunity to present, and we stand ready to answer questions. And when I say we, I really mean mostly them. So thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Matejevich, Senator Taylor, and Dr. Goycochea. We will now move to committee questions. We will start with Assembly Member Kasama.
Thank you, Chair. My question is on the section 5, subsection 2, where you replace livestock with agriculture. Shouldn't you include both? Because wouldn't you have, I'm envisioning a fairground with display of animals and everything too, so you're just removing that and only agriculture. Why don't you keep both?
Madam Chair, may I go direct? Assembly Member, thank you for that question. Director Goycochea, for the record. So agriculture, in the definition that it is used in our statutes, does include livestock as well as crop production, honey, specialty crops, beverages, and after processing as well. So that we are fairly comfortable that that is all inclusive, including livestock, with the word agriculture.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assembly Member Flanagan.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. State fairs are always so much fun. I remember going as a young girl. You mentioned, but they happen about once a year. So I'm sure you guys have plans for other activities. Can you talk about some of the things that are in the works where additional revenue will be generated to make this venture worthwhile for?
Thank you, Assembly Member, for the question. Director Goycochea, again, for the record. So we are going to continue to work with RSCVA. Last year, and I might get these numbers a little bit wrong, but I believe they booked that facility for 63 events in total. So there's a lot of events that go on there. Obviously, the Reno Rodeo is one of the largest, and you'll hear from some representatives of that later on, I believe. But we do have a Professional Bull Riders Association comes in there. We do a lot of motocross type things. There are a lot of livestock shows, the Nevada Junior Livestock Show, Hereford Show, those kind of things. So we are going to continue to expand on that. around the Reno Rodeo. There's a lot of other equestrian events that can take place ahead and behind that, some team roping events, some show events, and really what it's about is getting heads and beds. The more events we can put on here, the better the booking is in our hotel rooms, and that increases that revenue, so that spreads across the RSCVA and their mission. So that is what our goal is, in addition to putting more agricultural emphasis on it.
Madam Chair, may I have a quick follow-up? So I can get myself ready. What time of year is the fair gonna happen? Because I have to come up from the south.
Excellent question, Assemblymember Director Goycochea, for the record. So we're still looking at it, and I will let I'll let the senator give her input on what she would like to see it. I know we want it in the summer, so the kids are out of school, but we are gonna have to work with open dates.
Thank you, Assemblymember Angie Taylor, for the record. I was gonna say, I remember having it right at the beginning of school starting. It was like the unofficial end of the summer. And you're nodding, Assemblymember. Thank you for this question. So I would like to see it fit right back into that slot.
We noted.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Carter.
Thank you. Yeah, listening to the presentation and reading through it, I'm trying to understand. This sounds like a local or regional attraction. How does the state justify coming in to basically promote regional and local attractions? Down south, it's not handled that way, and I'm just trying to figure out why we should dedicate state money to local promotion.
Assemblymember, thank you for the question. I will go back to that original trust that was placed on this property. Director Goycochea, for the record. Sorry, I've been at this all week. You'd think I'd remember.
I know, right?
Thank you. Director Goycochea, for the record. We will go back to the trust. So this property originally had trust on it from the late 1800s to do exactly what we're proposing to do again. This property is currently owned by the state of Nevada. It is just under a lease with Washoe County. By bringing it back under the control of the Department of Agriculture, we feel it better aligns with that trust. As Washoe County has mentioned, their vision has shifted a little bit. They don't have that fair there anymore, and so this will put that on. And then in addition, the Nevada Junior Livestock Show is already there, is always there in May, and we want to continue that as well. Again, that lines up with the mission of that trust.
Committee members, do we have any additional questions? Right, seeing none, thank you. We will move on to testimony. Testimony can be provided here in Carson City, video conferenced in Las Vegas, or over the phone. Further instructions for providing testimony on a bill can be found on the agenda. And we will begin here in Carson City with support testimony. I just quickly want to go over. Support testimony is that you are testifying in support of the measure as written, or that you approve the measure as written along with any proposed amendments. Opposition testimony is if you do not support the measure as written, or you do not support the measure as revised with the amendment. So just a quick overview, support is I support the bill as is. If you say I support the bill as is but or except, that is technically opposition testimony. And neutral is offering particular insights on the measure but does not express a position on the measure. So if we can start here in Carson City in support of Assembly Bill 333, if you'd like to come up to the table, we can begin support. Please state and spell your name for the record, and you each have 2 minutes. Go ahead when you're ready.
Where do you turn it on? I believe it's on. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Perry DiLoretto. I live at 7225 Franktown Road for just short of 50 years now. And I'm here to support the bill as submitted. I am the chairman of the Nevada Western Heritage Alliance, a private, nonprofit 501c3 organization that was established almost 5 years ago to become deeply engaged in the regeneration of not only the interest but the improvements that need to be made to this facility. This started out its life a number of years ago. It was a beautiful facility. And as often happens with a lot of public infrastructure, things seem to get into a state where they're just not being kept up. This facility needs attention. We've been successful through the efforts led by the Reno Rodeo Association, the State Department of Agriculture, Division of Water Resources. About $8 million has already been committed to improvements, significant improvements that need to be made to the facility, and those are in process now. We'll be going to bid here very shortly on a major grant that we did get from Water Resources for almost $6 million. We have great ideas, a lot of which have been funded privately. We're pursuing our master plan. But what you have before you is an opportunity to put the house in order, so to speak. We really care a lot about this facility. It's part of the personality of our community. It provides tremendous opportunities to our citizens. It hosts some very significant events. What we're interested in seeing happen, and the reason for our support, is we would like this to become under the auspice of one of our state agencies that cares as much about it as we do. And we firmly believe that that's the State Department of Agriculture, and there will be total goal alignment between what the facility needs, what the facility can become, so that it continue to provide the services and the opportunities to our community. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
My name is Michonne Ascuaga. That's MICHONNEASCUAGA. I'm also a member of the Nevada Western Heritage Center Alliance. And I would just add two things quickly, and that is the Western Heritage Center Alliance is a really diverse group of community people that have joined with the rodeo to find ways to rehabilitate this center. We have members of all of the municipalities there, the police department, community people surrounding the center itself. It's really a broad group of community leaders that have come together to support this initiative. And I might just add also that the Livestock Event Center, if you're not familiar with where it's located, it is in an area of our community that really has not seen much reinvestment. It's a opportunity zone. The poverty level around there is 32%, which is much higher than elsewhere. And so we feel there's a lot of reasons to try to bring this back to life and give something again in that community. So in closing, I just want to again say we're very much supportive of this initiative. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jim Neal, and I'm the current president of the Reno Rodeo Association. Our association has been contributing to the efforts to improve the event center for a number of years, and in fact, our offices sit on the southeast corner of that property. And our association fully supports the amendment, the legislation and the amendments as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in support? If so, if you want to come up to the table.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Matt McKinney, current president of the Nevada Junior Livestock Show Board, who currently has some administrative duties with this set of our property and will continue to do so. We as a governor-appointed board support this, see the change as a positive to promote agriculture within the state of Nevada.
Okay, if that is everyone here in Carson City, we will move down to Las Vegas. I don't see anyone in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the lines who wishes to testify in support of Assembly Bill 333?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. We have no callers for support at this time.
Thank you. We will move on to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City who wishes to testify in opposition to Assembly 333? Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I have a bunch of cowboys. My name is Tom Clark, for the record. I'm here on behalf of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. I have a bunch of people behind me that are cowboys, and they're going, why are you going up in opposition to this bill? I'm in support of the bill, but I'm also in support of the amended version of the bill. So under committee rules, it's my understanding that I come forward in opposition, but we support the bill and we support the amendment. The important thing here is I grew up in Northern Nevada, rural and urban. The State Fair, the grounds that are here, they've been amazing. 63 different events throughout the year. It's fantastic. Everything from monster trucks to the rodeo, to the State Fair, to the snaffle bit. A whole bunch of different things happen on this property. With this change, I think that it's going to add the ability for the Department of Ag and the private partners that are behind us to really improve this facility and make it something that we can really be proud of. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And if you are in support of the bill with the amendment as presented, then that is support. So we will move this testimony to support. And sorry if I created any confusion. Apologies. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to, or is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? Seeing none and still seeing no one in Las Vegas, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 333?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. We have no callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will now move to testimony in neutral. If there's anyone here in Carson City who wishes to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 333, please go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Charlie Donahue, and I serve as the administrator for the Division of State Lands. In that capacity, I also serve as the State Land Registrar. I'm in the neutral position, Madam Chair, but I did want to just point out that I think there are some advantages to the amendments that are opposed to the bill, because the reference to and complying with NRS 321 and 322 causes, it undermines what I believe the Department of Agriculture and the bill sponsors are really trying to do, because if we were in charge of leases out, when I say we, the Division of State Lands, if we were in charge of leases out on the property, they would have to go through a competitive process through 321.335, and any revenue generated out of the leases or license or other authorizations on the property would need to be deposited into the general fund. And one of the premises of this bill is to create that fund for the preservation of the fairgrounds. So I just wanted to point that out to the members and make sure that that's abundantly clear. The division also submitted a fiscal note, because if the amendments are not adopted, then, and the lease provisions would fall to the responsibility of state lands, and that has happened in other powers and duties of other administrators or directors, that Division of State Lands would need some assistance. We're at capacity over capacity as it is. So with that, Madam Chair, those are my comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions or committee members' questions if there are any.
Committee, do we have any questions? Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral? Seeing no one and still seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in neutral on the bill?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. We have no callers for neutral at this time.
Thank you. If the presenters would like to come up and make any final remarks.
Thank you, Chair Considine. For the record, Cadence Matievich. I might have forgotten the most important part of the amendment, which is to add Assembly Members Dickman and O'Neill as sponsors. So apologies for that oversight. And I just want to say, if I may, Madam Chair, it's been a privilege for Washoe County to be stewards of this property for many, many years. We understand how important this property is to our community, and we think that the time is right for us to step aside as being the managers of this property and return it to the state agency who their mission directly aligns with the purpose that was stated when this property was deeded to the state. We're not trying to shirk responsibility. It's not that we don't care about the property and that we don't care about agriculture. We do, but that's not our core mission. It is the core mission of the Department of Agriculture, and so we believe it's appropriate to return it to them. We're committed to remaining partners as this important piece of property in our community is brought back to the status that it needs to be, and we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Goycochea, for the record, and I was coming up to point out that same piece of amendment, so I will say ditto, and thank you all for your time today.
Thank you, and I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 333. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 114, which revises provisions relating to county fair and recreation boards. To present this measure, we have our own Assembly Member DeLong, who will also introduce his co-presenters, and please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, committee members and Government Affairs. It's nice to be on this side of the table for a second time this week. We are presenting on Assembly Bill 114, which relates to the County Fair and Recreation Board. Pardon me, my name is Richard DeLong, representing Assembly District 26. And the bill is related to the County Fair and Recreation Board for a county that has a population more than 100,000 but less than 700,000. And for those of you that didn't know that the state has county fair and recreation boards, you might know them by their other name. And in Washoe County, it's the Reno-Sparks Convention and Visitors Authority, and in Clark County, it's the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. So since we are talking about that authority, I am hoping that Mr. Clark doesn't come up in opposition again. With that, I'll have my co-presenters introduce themselves, and then I'll make a couple of restatements about the bill.
Which one am I? Oh, I got it. Good morning. Thank you for having us here this morning. My name is Charlene Bybee. I'm a Spark City Councilwoman, and I have served on the RSCVA board for the past 4 years.
Good morning, everyone. Eddie Ableser for the record, ABLESCR. I am a board member on RSCVA, an appointed board member on RSCVA, representing them on behalf of this bill this morning.
So I'm going to briefly say why we're doing this bill, and then I'd like to have those board members explain why this is being brought forward. And so the intent of the bill is to change how the appointed members are appointed, who can run as chair of the board, and how the chair is elected. So if you would provide a brief reasoning as to why we're doing this?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Madam Chair, for the record, Eddie Ableser. As a appointed board member on the Reno-Sparks Convention Visitor Authority, per state law, there's 3 entities that get to appoint a variety of names to go before the RSCVA and have our names selected as a possible appointee. Current state law only permits the elected officials that are on the Reno-Sparks Convention Visitor Authority to select of those names who gets to join the authority, to sort of make it equitable and not put all the onus on our elected officials that serve on that committee, as well as replicate what they do in Las Vegas. This bill changes that portion so that all members of the Reno-Sparks Convention Visitor Authority get to select from the pool of names as submitted by the varying appointing authorities in the appointed member category. And then the second portion of the law that we're presenting allows for anyone that is on the RSCVA to possibly serve as the chairperson of the authority. Currently, it is only limited to the elected officials right now.
I'll go ahead and add to that. Charlene Bybee, Sparks City Councilwoman. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. The appointments that Mr. Abelsar was referring to, we have 9 members on our board, so we're significantly smaller than the Las Vegas Convention Visitors Authority. And of those 9, 3 are elected. I represent Sparks. We have a representative from Reno and from Washoe County. The other 6 members are non-elected, and it's designated already where those representatives come from. Eddie is representing the chamber. We have the airport authority. We have NRA representatives, so gaming representatives, and those kind of rotate. We have North Lake Tahoe. Am I missing one?
There's 3 from the NRA.
Three NRA members. So it's a diverse board, and each entity, say the chamber, will submit 2 names for consideration for a 2-year term. And then those 2 names come to the board, but currently only the elected officials vote on which name we take. The rest of the board does not have that responsibility. At times, it's a little bit tough with only 3 of us electeds. It can be a 2-to-1, or just, I kind of feel that the rest of the board who's going to be serving with the new members makes sense to me why we would ask for all board members to be able to vote on whatever names come before us. So it does take some pressure off the electeds in doing so. And people serve for a 2-year term, and they can renew for 2 years. So 4 years total from each entity. On the chair position, the changes, to my understanding, in only the chairman, in this NRS, that only the chairman of this board are elected, is in 2015, there was a change in NRS and reduced the size of our RSCVA from 13 members to 9. They felt 13 was unwieldy, and they wanted to be more efficient, kind of lean and mean. And in doing so, 2 elected positions were taken away. Sparks only had 1, but Reno and Washoe County each lost an elected position. So to kind of compensate for that, the NRS took that in consideration and made the chair requirement that it should be an elected. Our board went through our executive and legislative subcommittee, and there was a strong feeling from all members. They wanted that chairmanship to be open to the possibility of other members, not just the electeds, being chair of this board. It's a 2-year position as chair, and we voted on both parts, so it's a 2-part to this amendment that would change both of those provisions. And when we came before the board, it was a unanimous decision. So that's kind of the history and maybe the logistics of how we work. Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, curiously enough, doesn't have the requirement that the chair be an elected, but it always has been. But on that board, there are 8 elected. So the electeds are in the majority of that board, and they have always had an elected in their chairmanship position, even though, ironically, by statute, they don't have to. Thank you.
Rich DeLong for the record. Chair, would you like me to walk through the bill based on the amendment that was previously submitted, or, okay. So everyone should have a copy of the bill as amended. It is on Nellis, and there are also copies here if there's anyone that needs one. It is a 1-section bill. In section 1D, we've changed the language such that the 6 appointed members are appointed by the board itself rather than just the elected members of the board. And then going down to section 1D.4, It talks about the members who are entitled to vote is changed to the entire board. And then in 2, below that, the chair can be any of the members rather than just the elected members. And that is the extent of changes in the bill, and we stand for questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Committee members, do we have any questions? Seeing none, thank you for the presentation. Oh, Assemblymember Goulding.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry for that delayed request. Can you explain why there are 2 amendments in Nell's here?
If
Am
I
I
can
saying that
answer, I
correctly?
believe that they are essentially the same amendment. They were just submitted by 2 different people.
Okay. That's why the delay. I was trying to scan to see what the difference was between the 2.
Okay, any other questions from committee members? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much for the presentation. We will move on to testimony. We will begin with testimony in support here in Carson City. If you would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 114, please remember that you have 2 minutes and state your name and affiliation. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of the Reno-Sparks Chamber of Commerce. I'm actually in full support of this entire piece of legislation. I don't know if it's Pi Day, if it's my birthday, I don't know what it is, but I had a real brain whoop this morning. So on behalf of the Reno-Sparks Chamber of Commerce, we're very much in support of this change. I think it's good that all of the members of the RSCVA, whether they're elected or appointed, have the opportunity to serve as the chair of that board if they're duly elected by their members. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. If there is no one else here in Carson City wishing to testify in support of Assembly Bill 114, and there is still no one in Las Vegas, AVH will go to you if there's anyone on the lines wishing to testify in support.
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. We have no callers for support at this time.
Okay, we will move on to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 114? Seeing no one and still seeing no one in Las Vegas, we will move to AVH. Is there anyone on the line in opposition to Assembly Bill 114?
The public line is open and working. We have no callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you, and we will move to neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 114? Seeing no one and still seeing no one in Las Vegas, we will go to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the lines wishing to testify in neutral?
Thank you. The public line is open and working. We have no callers for neutral at this time.
Thank you, and if the presenters would like to make any final remarks, please go ahead.
Just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for hearing the bill. Oh, my name is Rich DeLong. For the record, I want to thank everyone for hearing the bill and for your plethora of questions.
And with that, I will close the hearing on AB 114, and we will move on to our last item on the agenda, public comment. As reminders, members of the public can provide public comment in person or telephonically and may submit public comment up to 24 hours after the meeting. Instructions for public comment can be found on the agenda. To provide public comment telephonically, please dial 888-475-4499. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 884-2114-2886, and then press pound when prompted for a participant ID. Each person will have 2 minutes to provide testimony. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name for the record. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to provide public comment today? Seeing no one and still seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone on the lines for public comment today?
Thank you. The public line is open and working. We have no callers for public comment at this time.
Thank you. Our next meeting will be Monday, March 17th at 8 a.m. in this room, 3143. That concludes our meeting for today. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.